When entering a new year, it's just as much about looking back as it is about living in the moment and looking forward. And when it comes to video games, looking back on 2014, I played a lot of great titles. And much like the year before that, I'm counting down the 8 that really stuck with me. Only this time around, with the exception of one game, everything on this list came out in 2014. And if you know me, you probably know most of my picks already, but who knows, some of them may surprise you. So now, without further ado, I give you the 8 great games I played in 2014. Enjoy, everybody! Much like with 2013 Super Mario 3D World, I wasn't super excited for Captain Toad when it was announced. And similarly, by the time the game's second trailer came out, I couldn't wait to play it. Only with Treasure Tracker, I didn't exactly know what to expect from it. And again, like 3D World, it really managed to surprise me at just how different it felt from the usual stuff of its genre. Nearly every stage in this game has some very creative level design, with a true sense of challenge, variety, and a lot more polish than I thought I'd get from a budget title. And when paired with its adorable sense of charm, this game managed to put my mind at ease while simultaneously making me think about what I was doing. Now before this, I was one of those guys who hated on Toad simply for the sole reason of being Toad. But after playing through Treasure Tracker, I don't think I have it in me to do that anymore, because I've really grown to like these guys during my playtime. I mean, look at that! That's just too adorable, I can't hate them! Here we have a game that's nearly 3 years old and I only just got around to playing it. I'd heard a lot of things about Kid Icarus Uprising, most notably how the controls are awkward as crap, with that being the main reason I initially passed on it. But with the upcoming release of another Sakurai title, I decided to delve into this game to get a better understanding of the Kid Icarus universe, and let me tell ya, those things I had heard were right. For the first bit of the game, controlling it was an utter nightmare, having played it on a 3DS XL and myself being left-handed. But try as they might, I wasn't about to let these controls stop me from playing, and I managed to adjust myself after a while and had a lot more fun afterwards. I was seriously impressed that a game like this was able to run on the 3DS. There's really not much like it on the system. Among other things, I was very surprised by the voice acting. It's downright some of the best voice acting I've ever heard in a Nintendo game. Pretty much every line of dialogue was something out of a classic Saturday morning cartoon, with the witty writing and vocal talent to back it up. Combine that with Uprising's high-paced action and graphics that are simply stunning in 3D, and you've got yourself one heck of a good time. Even more so if you're a righty or ambidextrous. Us lefties just can't catch a break, huh? When going into a Mario Kart game, you pretty much know what to expect. A crazy fun kart racing experience that's bound to have you tearing your hair out at some point. Not only is that all here in Mario Kart 8, but I think it's at the best it's ever been since the days of Double Dash. You've got a bunch of really beautiful and diverse tracks, both old and new, an anti-gravity mechanic that's extremely fun to pull off, and a ton of worthwhile DLC that keeps this game feeling as fresh as it did when it first came out. Just about the only things they really missed the mark on here is battle mode and especially the character roster. The former's not a huge issue for me, but out of 30 plus racers, you can play as 5 babies, 10 kinds of Koopa, 4 different flavors of Mario and Peach, and yet there's no Diddy Kong in sight? Huh. Aside from those strange oversights though, Mario Kart 8's got it all when it comes to high-octane fun. I'd usually tell you to go pick it up at this point in the entry, but if you have a Wii U, you probably already got it. Wait, hold on! I actually played something mature? If you've been around my channel for a while, seeing a game like this get any kind of mention in one of my videos may have you genuinely shocked. And now that I think about it, I'm pretty surprised too. When it was first revealed, I had no intentions of getting familiar with Bayonetta 2. But for reasons I don't fully understand yet, I became more intrigued with the game as time went by. And by October, I already had it pre-ordered. Though to get a good idea of what Bayonetta 2 could bring to the table, I decided to play through the first game before heading straight into the sequel. And that was well worth it, because now I can safely say that Bayonetta 2 is more the same, but what you loved before has been amplified to the highest degree, and none of those ridiculous QuickTime events to muddy up the experience. The graphics are downright beautiful, the music is energetic with a hint of seductiveness, there are so many moments of over-the-top action that had me on the edge of my seat, and the Nintendo influence makes this game feel right at home on Wii U, while at the same time feeling ridiculously out of place, in the best possible way.
Well, Mamma mia.
Yeah, you see what I mean? I'm glad that this game ended up being made, I'm glad I decided to play it, and I hope to see Bayonetta back in action again sooner than later. For a lot of people, Gen 3 was where they cut their ties with the Pokemon series, but in my case, it was what brought me back into Pokemon full swing, and I was thrilled to see Ruby and Sapphire finally get the remake treatment. However, I'd been playing the first 3DS Pokemon games quite extensively, and early on I felt like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire was more or less just X and Y with a different coat of paint. But as things progressed, the game made more of an identity for itself, and I had a great time going back through one of my favorite regions with all new secrets to unfold. One of the best features these games offer is the Dex Nav, which is by far the biggest improvement made when it comes to encountering and catching Pokemon. Now you can see exactly what's nearby, as well as hidden Pokemon with more unique qualities. And while it still takes some time and patience, catching the Pokemon you want is a lot less infuriating than it's ever been. That can potentially lead to getting the perfect Pokemon to Mega Evolve. And with the great array of Mega Evolutions these games introduced, it's gonna be fun to experiment. I think it's also worth noting that I got my copy of Omega Ruby by winning it in a contest, so while I may have felt a bit disappointed playing it first, not once did I feel robbed, and I say getting a game for free makes playing it all the sweeter. In most cases, I'm not one for retro-inspired titles because the concept has been done to death, especially when they're made in the vein of 8-bit NES games. That's why I initially brushed off Shovel Knight and didn't think much of it, until everyone and their mother went on and on about just how great this game turned out. So I gave it a shot, and after only 20 minutes of playtime, I saw what everybody else saw. Shovel Knight isn't just a love letter to the classic 8-bit games that inspired it. Heck, if I didn't know any better, I'd think this was a classic NES game that everyone just started talking about out of the blue. From its presentation to its gameplay and everything in between, it's got what makes a game from those early days of gaming so great and much more. And I never realized it, but this game even has a limited palette like other NES games do. That's some serious attention to detail, and yet it still looks more vibrant than any NES game I've ever seen. I'm not sure how, but those guys at Yacht Club made a true gem of a game here. E3 2013 showed us the promise of not one, but two new Super Smash Bros. Games by the following year. And while I was excited for both, the Wii U version was the one I was truly anxious to play, and it ended up being the definitive version in my eyes. There were some areas in the game that left me a little disappointed, but most of it came down to just petty nitpicks. What this game improves on and does differently from the games that preceded it are more than enough to keep me happy. With Smash Bros. 4 bringing a bunch of crazy new stages, modes, and challenges, an insane amount of polish and detail everywhere you look, online that actually works, and the biggest roster we've seen with everything I could have realistically hoped for, and then some. I know for a fact I'll be coming back to this game for many years to come, just like with Smash Bros. Games of past. And if this just so happens to be the last Smash game in the series, I think I'm gonna be okay with that, because this is the most satisfying iteration that I've come to know, and it may just become my all-time favorite in the series soon enough. Oh, come on, like you don't know already? They say third time's the charm, but when it comes to platformers, Retro's proven they can knock it out of the park in just their second attempt with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Where Returns left me pining for more, Tropical Freeze delivered in ways that I couldn't have ever imagined 5 years ago. Cranky Kong becoming a playable character, the long overdue return of Dixie and Funky Kong, the return of water levels, the comeback of the legendary David Wise and his musical talent. And don't even get me started on the level design, because I can talk about every single level and what I adore about each one in crazy detail. It may not be the game that everybody wanted Retro to make, but it's another shining example of just what that studio can do. They managed to make the Donkey Kong Country that fans had wanted from the very beginning. Without question, Tropical Freeze has not only cemented itself as my favorite game of last year, but one of my new favorite games of all time, period. And if we could get one more game to make a really great trilogy, that would be awesome. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I mean, I assume you did unless you skipped to the end, in which case you're a horrible person. So tell me, what was your favorite game of 2014? Feel free to share it in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, favorite, share, subscribe, and anything else that I may be missing that constitutes as the good stuff. And while you're here, why don't you check out some of these videos on the screen right here? I mean, I liked them, you might too. Oh yeah, that's right, I have a Twitter now, and I have a Facebook. You can follow me there, I promise not to bug you. And with all that said, I will see you guys next time. Later!